Oh, hello there, friends. Sorry it's been a while. I thought I would be able to get this video done last year, but college had other things planned. But yeah, it's time, guys. After what, 30 years from the first War Arc video, I'm finally reviewing this arc. Jeez, what a ride these past few years have been. I've changed so much from going back to school, gaining some voice acting protections, to working a better job, and growing the channel. But there's one thing I have to do, a promise I made years ago in that video. But it does have some real dipping points. This arc is proof of that claim, and the final work. But we'll get to that eventually. Believe that. Man, I sound and act way different then than I do now. Sound like a youthful soul who hasn't been worn down and broken by the world and humanity. Those were better days. But anyway, yeah, it's time for the big reveal you all been waiting for. But before we go, I think a refresher for how I'm going to review this arc is in order for any new viewers watching. I review stories with the intent of being objective when it comes to plot, character, and theme writing. Not to say I don't enjoy things like production value, music, or acting, but these aspects won't be factored in terms of my final analysis. Also, to make it clear, third-party media will not be considered as a viable source to throw any counterpoints at me. The main series will be what I'm talking about today. So if you're planning to pull up team-up missions or whatever as a source, that won't fly here.
Everybody got that?
Now, I'm not breaking new ground here talking about this arc. This arc was very polarizing when it was circulated in the manga, and it has brought very strong reactions to it, to say the least. But recently, I see a lot of people beginning to grow on the arc, especially since the anime adaptation dropped. So did we treat this arc too harshly?
No.
Now, upon rereading this arc, it's nowhere near as bad as I remembered. There's plenty of solid material in this arc, and I will praise it when I get to it. But even with my softer stance on this arc, I can't really call it good. For every good thing in this arc, there are plenty of bad things that overwhelm the good stuff. And in this video, we're going to discuss this arc in detail. One more dive into My Hero Academia as we discuss what this arc does and doesn't do well. Now that we covered all that, we can proceed. There's only one other thing I can say.
Finally. Finally. It's my go.
Since this video is going to be a long one, and this mini arc is before the final one, I might as well cover the Aoyama stuff. So in the Traitor arc, we learned that Aoyama was the one who helped out the League in the first few seasons of the show. Not gonna lie, I was expecting Deki or Hagakure to be the traitor, especially Hagakure, since Hori did a clever little red herring. He made the audience think All For One was talking about her when talking about having friends in good places. But in truth, Hagakure was listening in on Aoyama's conversation with his parents, and it makes sense why Aoyama is All For One's spy when you look at the big picture. His quirk being funky, some of the stuff he said during the first season with him low-key teasing it, and his intense desire to be a hero foreshadow this. And it makes his parents' choice to work for All For One make sense. They love Aoyama dearly, they want him to have his dream realized. They just didn't realize what kind of person they were asking for help before it was too late. I would be critical of them going into the forest nearby near the training areas, but I'll let it slide because it's clear Aoyama is in extreme distress and he's not thinking straight. Plus, I doubt there's any other place at the school that would have worked. Since there's heroes, students, and civilians nearby, they probably would have overheard them. At least being near the training grounds, the students might not notice them since they are focused in on getting stronger. So congrats, Aoyama, you're still a smarter character than Hawks and Genuis. Being serious though, it's a well done dramatic scene where it adds plenty to the characters and enriches them. One A feels betrayed and devastated, and Aoyama feels remorse about everything he did. But Midoriya, being the lad he is, points out Aoyama helped save Tokoyami back in season 3 at the camp. Aoyama may be a double agent, but he's a hero at heart, and they are going to back him up no matter what. One could argue this arc should have been longer, and one A should have taken longer to forgive him, but I'll let it slide because Deku can't cook up a good speech, and I could see his words change his classmates' minds pretty quickly.
What about the message for me? Is that something All For One told you to do too? Of course not! That night was a desperate cry for help, and it totally went over my head. Aoyama, I'll say it one more time. I promise you, you too can be a hero!
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
One more thing, I do like the detail of them using Shinzo to brainwash Aoyama's parents so they could trick All For One. Under brainwashing, All For One can't detect any lies coming from the two parents, which leads All For One and the PLF into a trap. I'm highlighting this part because Shinzo is a Chad, and I like to give credit when it's due when it comes to the writing. This arc does have clever and smart pieces of writing in it, and this part is something I really enjoyed. If the rest of this arc was as good as the Aoyama stuff, I would be singing a different tune. But, it's not. So let's not waste another moment and talk about the bad stuff. Now you guys know I didn't like how Midnight was treated back in the war arc, to say the least. This bullshit got more attention than the death of Midnight. Do you guys feel insulted? Midnight's death was bullshit. It's a poorly written attempt at shocking the audience, so no, I'm not giving this arc credit for realistic death when so many characters who should be dead aren't. I know I'm subtle about it, but I digress. Regardless of execution, there are still ways it could have been used effectively. The students found the body of one of their teachers. That is traumatizing. And while developing their relationship after the fact would be weak writing, it could have helped build up the characters more and flesh them out. A subplot could have been made where we develop the students, maybe set up Midnight's killer as a foe. There's a lot of potential here. So what does the story do? Mina just happened to encounter the guy who killed Midnight because he was saying out loud that he killed Midnight in the middle of an active war zone.
Trampled, like that pathetic UA teacher.
Oh, there's a lot of holes in that story. Let me sit down for a moment.
Where do I even begin? First of all, how crazy is it that this asshole just happened to face against the people who loved Midnight, and not say any of the other multiple battlefronts with different people? Second of all, it's beyond lucky that Mina actually heard this asshole. You know, when you're battling in a war zone, you might miss the ramblings of some asshole because you're focused on, you know, not dying, or with how insane the environment is, you just might miss it. And thirdly, why would you bring up you killed Midnight now, you twit? Like, really, dude, what do you have to gain from saying this out loud? Why aren't you fighting with your allies? Why are you just standing there? This is just stupid. It's stupid. Are you stupid? Why of all times decide to bring this up now?
It is of no concern.
Editor Arcwinder here. I have a lot to add because I went through these scenes again and I found more issues. So let's go through them. Yes, I know that Gas Mask Dude was sent by All For One to get Makia, and Mina was assigned to guard the Godzilla knockoff, and Gas Mask Dude said he and his boys combined their quirks with devices to broadcast to Makia to wake him up, but that only slightly improves the issue since Mina's still very lucky she happened to be assigned to guard the prison to face Gas Mask Dude. There's also the question on why didn't Gas Mask Dude do this plan from the start? Yes, I know they also said they didn't expect the heroes to be there as an ambush.
Damn, this was a surprise attack! So why were they here? Waiting for us!
But that makes it way worse. The paramilitary force didn't expect security at the compound holding their kaiju supervillain. I don't even know what to say anymore. This team's intelligence is in the negatives. And it doesn't help that Gas Mask Dude did nothing at the start and just stood around instead of getting the boys together and doing their plan right away. Might have helped you win the battle is all I'm saying. Also, I would add that Mount Lee wasted time asking Rule to make a big wrench to hit Gas Mask Dude when punching him would have been much faster and would have stopped him before it was too late. So her character is damaged. And I would like to mention that no one tried to stop Gas Mask Dude despite the fact he was openly saying what his plan is and he was in the middle of open sky with no defenses. They had a psychic user. Why didn't she throw anything at them? She did in season 5. So the fact that Gas Mask Dude was able to set up this plan is contrived. So yeah, this subplot is still very poorly written. It's honestly way worse now than I thought because it's no longer just a highly unlikely meetup between Mina and the villain. It's now a somewhat more likely, but still bullshit meetup with Mina and Gas Mask Dude, with the latter being the definition of incompetence and stupidity, and this entire plot thread is filled with more holes than I originally thought.
Good job.
We now return to more reasons why this subplot sucks. But never mind the insanity of coincidences that had to happen to get these events to happen the way they did. I mean, it's stupid, but if the setup beforehand was actually done well, they might have made up for it. So does it do that?
No.
So Mina never got any character development because of Midnight's death. It was a shock moment, then it was forgotten about for most of the third act saga. But then Horikoshi remembered, oh shit, I need to do something with it. So he had to quickly figure out what to do with this thread. And because of that lack of development, this fight wasn't properly set up. We didn't have characters go through development and talk about Midnight. It was rushed through without a deep dive. Other pieces of media have done similar plot threads much better, which yeah, I'll talk about them. I'm going to use an example from the TV show Monk, which used a similar plot thread to great effect when it comes to developing characters who have grief as a massive drive for them. For those who do not want spoilers, go to this time frame here. Adrian Monk, the main character, his most important character trait is that he's traumatized by the murder of his wife, Trudy. Monk's drive throughout the series is him trying to catch the man who killed his wife. But the series doesn't skip out on how much of an impact Trudy's death left on the cast. Monk locked himself away for years because he couldn't cope with the loss of Trudy, because she was his world. They were made for each other, so Monk losing her exasperated his phobias and his OCD to an extreme level. Even the other cast members give Trudy respect and reverence because she was beloved by everyone. Every time she's mentioned, it's treated as a serious moment, where it shows how much she left an impact on Adrian, and how much even over a decade after her death, she still means the world to Adrian, and still drives Adrian's choices every day of his life. The show doesn't need to tell us by words, it shows by the actions of the characters.
What do you think? I want you to be happy. That's all I've ever wanted.
I'm not suggesting the series just makes me and the main character to give her this level of development, because I know someone's gonna strawman me here on what I'm actually saying. I'm saying Monk did it better because they put in the time to develop the characters and make the payoffs work. You know, basic writing 101. And yes, I know you can blame the other arcs for this same issue as well, but that doesn't mean this arc is excused for not bothering to develop it beyond a line of dialogue. Like really, did Mina really change all that much from Midnight's death? Did she become paranoid? Guilt-ridden? Self-destructive? Anything? No! She's basically the exact same character with no actual difference.
Do better.
In fact, I will go a step further and say this story chose the wrong character to avenge Midnight. Mia barely had any scenes with Midnight, none of which were anything to show they had a deep relationship. Those interactions being Midnight saying nah to Mia's first hero name, and Mia low-key shipping All Might and Midnight. Honestly guys, tell me something about these two relationships that isn't just headcanon or from third-party material. For real. Find me something in the story that shows Mina loved Midnight aside from her saying Midnight was her favorite teacher. I'll wait. Well, actually, no. I'll continue because you guys won't find anything. You know who actually fits the shoe better when it comes to a character who had a relationship with Midnight? My goat Momo. While she and Midnight's scenes and development together are slim, they are still there. Midnight, upon seeing Momo's fight with Kendo in Season 5, she was proud of Momo, saying she would be a great hero one day. Midnight's final moments are literally telling Momo she believes in her. Momo is center focused when they find Midnight's body. Momo's arc was her trying to overcome being overwhelmed and conquering her crippling self-doubt. What enemy would be better for her to face than the person who killed her mentor? There's legit no other character perfectly suited for the subplot than Momo. But they went with Mina?
What were they thinking?
And yes, I know Mia doesn't want revenge, and her big moment was meant for her to be calling out Gas Mask Dude for his bullshit, but it's still extremely underdeveloped because the basis of this moment is very reliant on her non-existent relationship with Midnight. Bro, come on. Of course Mina cared about Midnight. She was her teacher. You can infer it. Oh, I'm sorry, Straw Nerd. I was under the impression that stories, you know, show character development and what they meant to each other. Why bother show characters actually being close when you can just headcanon it? If any of you actually use this point, are you guys for real? Like really dudes, have some actual standards. Stop writing the story for Horikoshi, stop making excuses for lazy writing, and stop using your headcanon like the solid piece of evidence for your points.
Don't do it. I'm sick of it.
If you have to come up with your own backstories for this story to work, then the story has failed, I'm sorry to say. And no, headcanoning is not the same thing as making inferences. Inferring is basically making reasonable guesses that are supported by the material. Headcanoning is literally when you just make up your own story in your head. And on its own, it's not a bad thing. Lord knows there are things in this series that I pretend like it never happened. But when we're talking about the series proper, headcanons go out of the way because they cannot be used as evidence to debate claims. The strongest Steelman inference that can be made is that Mina liked Midnight, and she might have had a friendship with her, since she taught the Midnight more than the other UA teachers, which is basically zero outside of Eraserhead. Anything else is just the audience trying to come up with a backstory in their head because there's nothing here. Even then, it still wouldn't come close to Momo and Midnight's development for as little as they shared on screen together. They at least showed something when it comes to how both of them felt about each other. You can say it's lacking. You can say both of them needed more scenes together. But at least it matched the bare minimum. Oh yeah, speaking of underdeveloped, let's talk about the villain of the hour, Gas Mask Dude. No, I'm not kidding. He doesn't have a name. Actually, fuck it. I'm not even gonna give him a nickname. Why should I bother to give him a name when even the story didn't care? We'll just refer to him as Blank. Blank has no actual character to him. He's just a generic asshole with no substance to him. Motherfucker doesn't even have a wiki page. That's how lacking he is.
What a joke.
Like, if you're going to do everything that happened before exactly the same, at least make Blank a force to be reckoned with. Or give him a fucking name. That would be appreciated. But nope, we don't get that. He's just an NPC. The most I can gauge from him is that he's an asshole. That's it. Sure, he has some respect for Redestro, but that's more window dressing to give the illusion of depth, but is no more deeper than a puddle you would see on the road. He is a massive fraud whose only confirmed kill was a heavily injured hero who couldn't fight back, and he's not even a powerhouse who can make the audience say, wow, he's so cool and scary. He's the story equivalent of a Super Mario Bros. Mini boss. Zero character, zero aura, zero respect.
Despicable.
Well, that's the point. In war, you don't expect to know the person who killed your friend. It's chaos. It's realistic. Fuck off. That doesn't work as an excuse because they do meet again through the most contrived ways possible. And in this series where characters who should be dead aren't, you can't use realism.
Do better.
You know how the scene would actually play out if it was played straight? It would basically be this. Yes, I'm gonna teach all these heroes a lesson, just like I did to that UA teacher.
You took Midnight, you hurt me and my friends. I'm going to take you down.
Oh, you think you can stop me, little girl? I carry on the dreams of Redestro. I will bring his vision to this world. I am his greatest follower, for I am...
What are you doing?
I'm just thinking.
Are you trying to mess with me?
Of course not. My name is... Give me a minute, I need to think of something.
Do you have a name?
Yes, I do. It's just... You don't deserve to know my name. Yeah, you will die without knowing who I am. Just like your teacher.
You monster. She was my favorite teacher. She meant so much to me.
Oh, tell me about that representation of this weak society. Tell me all about her meaningless existence.
Midnight, she was a great teacher. She did. She was, what she meant to me was...
No fucking way, did you spend any time with her?
Yes. She turned down my hero name a while back and I made a joke about her and All Might dating. That's about it.
Well, what close friends you were.
Oh, fuck off. At least me and her have names. What do you have?
Aura.
What?
Look at me, I look cool. I look evil. I don't have Shigiraki strip, but my suit looks elite.
Okay, have you actually done anything?
Yes, I killed Midnight.
Okay, what else have you done?
Well, that's about it.
Wow, what aura you have for killing an injured, helpless woman.
At least I'm alive.
Fuck you!
Should we get back to fighting?
Yes!
And you know what? This is somehow the least of this arc's problems. At least Mina had some aura moments, and she had a nice moment with Kirishima. At least I can point to something of substance here to say it's not all bad. At least I can't outright laugh at this plotline. The next big issue with this arc does not have that going for it, and is way, way worse. My hero hasn't shied away from bringing in politics, sometimes for great effect, other times not so much. Yeah, the subplot's the latter. So for context, Shoji, Kota, and a bunch of other heroes are defending a hospital from an army of mutant quirk users, which include Super Side Spinner and Disgustus here. Yes, I know that's a beta name for him, but unlike Blank, he actually has a bit of substance to him, so I'm gonna give him a tiny bit of respect. Their plan is to storm the hospital to get Kawiria back and use his powers to win the war. The main drive for the subplot is Shoji trying to reason with the troops of Spinners and Disgustus' army to stand down, hoping to reason with them that there are other ways to achieve equality they want without going down the path of radicalism of their leaders. Shoji knows what these people have gone through. He's been assaulted by quirk racists and was forced to flee, despite the fact he did nothing wrong and he was a good kid who helped save a little girl. So he has to show these people another way to equality. Sounds good on paper, but the execution falls flat. Now I did have other criticisms for this plotline. I was going to criticize how this was never brought up in the series proper by the other mutant characters like Mina, for obvious reasons. But one of my friends gave me some pretty good reasons about why that wouldn't be the case. The reason being that it's never implied that Mina or the other characters have ever gone to the countryside where this racism takes place or heard about it through social media or the news. And from his experiences, it's not really crazy to have a young minority be unaware of extreme racism. Not that they don't think that racism exists, but to think that it's not that dire. He should know he's a black person from Texas. So if anyone knows about racism, he probably has a better idea than most. And I would mention too that the Hero Commission also seems to try to keep a lid on things that make Hero Society look pretty bad, so I can see them censoring stuff about quirk racism. So the story is good, right?
Wrong!
Yeah, the story fumbles in a completely different manner, because this subplot is so fucking rushed. Throughout the series, we have had teases and world building relating to racism faced by people with mutant quirks. Granted, sometimes the anime cut out material for no good reason, but it is what it is. Point is that it had to be addressed sooner or later. Just leaving quirk racism unaddressed when a main part of Spinner's backstory, one of the main villains of the series, is that he's a victim of it, is a bad idea. So this army of mutant villains are pretty radicalized and very fed up. Generations of people who have been abused, hurt, and forgotten about by the system. In fact, based on how badly the people in Shoji's town treated him after he did a good thing, I would bet that some of these people's families and friends were murdered by anti-mutant bigots. Needless to say that these people are not happy and are pretty pissed off. So what does Shoji do? What does he do to try to reason with these people who have been broken, disillusioned, and enraged by a system that allowed their abuse and did nothing to stop these racist assholes? Well, he doesn't really offer a solution, he just tells them to be better. Okay, that's a bit simplified, but it's not far off. Shoji doesn't really offer an actual solution here. He tries to reason and appeal to their morals to stop them from being what they hate, and that does affect some of them, but I don't really think a speech would really do much from a rando they just met. Yes, they were startled by Shoji's scars, and Shoji mentions he's gone through the same thing as they did, but they still don't know him. For all they know, he could just be bullshitting to stop them. I'm surprised Disgustus didn't even try to discredit Shoji's arguments here. Point is, this shouldn't work. Hell, it doesn't. Even with some hesitation, the mutants are still running towards the hospital even after Disgustus is knocked down. Yes, I know Spirit talked to them, but considering he looks like a giant monster man and he almost lost the crowd a few minutes ago since his brain turned to mush, I think these people already had made up their minds. Also, I may be dumb, wouldn't Ko's attack on Disgustus make the mutants more upset that one of their leaders got taken down? Wouldn't that make everything worse?
It is of no concern.
It doesn't really help that Shoji has some dumb points that I'm surprised that Disgustus or anyone else didn't point out.
Don't let them take advantage of your scars! Next time, your children might be the ones they target!
Oh my god, he has brain damage. He has fucking brain damage. Are you a fucking idiot? I cannot even believe what he just said.
Yeah, why the fuck didn't anyone use this against Shoji? I feel like this moment would be a very easy thing to use against him. Disgustus could have used this point as a moment to say, he says not to fight for equality because they'll threaten our kids. Matter of fact, why didn't Disgustus or anyone else try to push back on Shoji's points and try to discredit him by downplaying or just making up bullshit about him?
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
It's not like Disgustus is doing much since he's just standing around on his soapbox. But ignoring all that, the Lion Zone is still pretty bad. Shoji is at best a rando they just met, and at worst, he's a class traitor to them.
You sound like a city kid. Yeah. You're a traitor to your kind!
I don't think they would be warm to the idea of some guy mentioning their family's safety when those people have probably been abused too. In concept, it could work because he's trying to appeal to them through ending this generational suffering they have all been through. But it doesn't work because, again, this whole subplot is underdeveloped and this isn't earned in the slightest because, again, what are you going to do to help these people? Hell, Shoji is literally just a rando character in the narrative sense. He didn't really do much for most of the series, so the subplot feels less like a natural progression of his character's journey and more what the Mina subplot was. Trying to tack on complexity to a character who barely did anything. Doesn't really help that Disgustus is cooking him with good counters.
We've tried to forgive and forget, but look where that got us! You're so naive, I might laugh! Would you have us do nothing to help ourselves? Brethren, his is a child's purview, but our hearts have been hardened by this world.
He's out of line, but he's right. You can't promise these people peace on ideas that you have no actual way of implementing them. You're just some guy, dude. This is not me saying the terrorists are right. I'm just saying Shoji's plan wouldn't work if we're being real. Perhaps you need the 12th Doctor to give you advice when it comes to speeches, Shoji.
It's not because it's fun. God knows it's not because it's easy. It's not even because it works, because it hardly ever does. I do what I do because it's right! And above all, it's kind.
You notice how the speech works because this show actually developed the Doctor and the themes to make it work? You notice how they actually put in the time to make it work? Yeah, I thought it was just me. The only reason it worked is because the plot said so. In any other story, Shoji's plan would have failed and he would be utterly cooked. And I very much don't like after the speech and the hospital workers standing their ground, the entire army just gave up except for like 2 guys. Yeah, no, ain't no way these are the only people in the army that are fully committed. There should be a lot of people arguing. Definitely would be some hands throwing between the extremists and everyone else. Like really, I doubt this would end like this. So let me get this straight. You want us to take the same pain we've been doing this for years without an actual plan to progress our cause. Not to mention, we will be treated worse than before because we almost massacred our hospital staff, torched a city to the ground, and we are seen as terrorists. And you think telling us that our kids will be hurt if we don't listen to you was gonna work? How? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds pretty stupid.
You don't say!
Yeah, fuck you, Shoji.
Fuck this! Who wants to still liberate ourselves?
Yeah! I didn't think this through. It's not as bad as Star and Stripes sexism stuff, since at least this story established and hinted to this quirk racism throughout its run, but it's still handled poorly. Because it's thrown together at the last moment with barely anything setting it up, it just comes across as undercooked. Oh my god, I almost forgot. The mutant user said, you don't get racism to Rocklock. You know, the black hero? Do I need to say anything else? And if anyone's gonna say that people moved on from skin racism in this universe, I have to say, are you for real? Sexism still exists in this universe, but regular racism doesn't? Especially since progress was slowed down in this universe. It reminds me of a quote that Chance the Rapper said when the movie Bright came out. I always feel a little cheated when I see allegorical racism in movies because that racism usually stems from human emotion or tolerance, but not by law or systems the way it is in real life. The characters in Bright live in a timeline where racism is gone. Cause we hate Orc now? Yeah, he's fully right here. Racists don't exist just because they are bad people. They exist because the rules and systems in place create those people. Just look at the current administration. I can respect Horikoshi trying to make a subplot with complexity and wanting to tackle a real-life issue, but social commentary does not equal good writing. It tries to be sincere and progressive, but comes off as tone-deaf at times because it lacks the development and tact to actually be effective. Anyway, this plot thread needed to be fleshed out more. I don't just mean only in the third act saga, I mean the entire series. This theme needs to be actively discussed and fleshed out as early as the first few seasons to give the audience the idea of what discrimination even looks like in MHA. I'm not saying make the whole series only focus on this plot thread, but maybe have a few arcs centered around this premise in order to clear up everything with quirk racism and how bigotry even works in MHA. And if for some reason building it up and spreading out the entire series wasn't an option, maybe cut down on the Shoto and Dabi subplot because that plot thread took way too much time. But we'll get to that whole thing later. Ultimately, this plot thread is very bad and very tone deaf with how Shoji is able to resolve it. This plotline might be the most hopeless to fix in this arc, given the little time left to actually do something with it. Everything else in this arc can be tweaked or reworked to make it functional, but this plotline is unsalvageable because the complexity needed for the story isn't built in. You could spread it out a bit more and avoid some of the really bad dialogue.
Think, Spinner. What you're doing here will set us back 30 years.
How does he calculate that exact number? What? But this plotline barely had anything setting it up, and it falls under the weight of its own ambition. It's bleak. Also, I would like to point out the stupidity of the plan they got for the hospital defense. So okay, they have Kurogiri in the hospital, which the bad guys know about. It's also established that they can't mislead the villains to not attack the hospital, so they are going to attack no matter what. So why don't they move Kurogiri to another location? It's not like they can't move him, they moved him from the prison to the hospital, and that was before they had a teleporter. Just take Kurogiri from the hospital and put him in a bunker somewhere away from the villains, or at least a fortified location like UA. If the hospital is going to be attacked, you might as well get him out of there and not risk him being potentially freed by the villains. Matter of fact, why don't they move the patients out of there? This place is going to be a war zone. Why aren't they moving the patients out of there? You weren't paying attention, Arcwinder. In the extras, it stated that the people are too sick to move. 1, that isn't the main story, so it's not a valid point of reference. 2, if this line was in the story, it still doesn't work. Normally this could be a strong defense. You know, the journey would be hard on their tired bodies, or they have to be hooked up to a special machine that is very hard to move. Especially in the destroyed remains of Japan, where chaos is everywhere, so it'd be dangerous to transport anyone without the risk of attacks by villain or vigilante groups. But all those points go out the window when you have a teleporter. You know, a person who can open portals from point A to point B without hassle? Are you going to tell me that in this universe where superpowers exist and the healthcare is at least a bit better than ours, moving someone from essentially one room to the other is impossible? Are we actually for real? Have MoMA keep moving people from one hospital to the other and then you have nothing to worry about. This is the easy choice without question. This universe is populated by idiots. I don't know what's going on here. The fact this option wasn't even considered or talked about by the other characters, despite the fact this would be a no-brainer, is a massive misplay, where even if Kurogiri couldn't be moved for any reason, this move would have helped get innocent people out of harm's way. Excellent moves, everyone. Glad to see UA taught you guys well when it comes to saving people.
You're a terrible hero!
And it gets way worse because Monoma isn't the only one whose brain cells got nerfed. My boy All Might has been greatly damaged by this arc. How? Let me explain. Before I talk about All Might in this arc, we should go over what the plan was to stop Shigiraki and All For One. So the plan is simple: separate Shigiraki from All For One and beat one of them before they can reconnect and stop them from fusing. It's mission critical. These heroes are putting their lives on the line to stop them. And while they didn't account for having Midoriya taken away for a period of time, they know it's going to be an absolute bloodbath for everyone there. So that means all available hands who should be able to fight All For One and Shigiraki will be there to fight one of them. Preferably the really strong heroes who can go toe-to-toe with All For One or Shigiraki, and it would be very stupid to not help out, especially with the stakes at hand, especially by a character who's supposed to always put others before himself.
That's why I gotta show my face. Meet Armored All Might!
God damn it!
Okay, so this moment here just destroys All Might's character on all levels. I don't even know where to start. Firstly, this dipshit thought not doing anything was a good idea. He knows Shigiraki and All For One are incredibly powerful and very hard to beat, but he didn't think about joining the fight earlier to fight alongside the other heroes and dog on one of them. It makes no sense not to do anything. The fight might have been over by now if you joined in with your Iron Man suit. All Might, you did fucking nothing while the heroes were getting destroyed by these villains. They could have died, and you only now decide to jump in? And secondly, All Might, the guy who always rushes in to help people, even when he was weak, even when the odds were so great, did jack shit when Shigiraki and All For One were harming people. He would never fucking ever do nothing when a villain is hurting people, especially his students. He would rush in even if he didn't have backup. This action is fundamentally against All Might's character. It just eviscerates him on all levels. But having All Might recreate 1/8's quirk was a touching tribute to them, and it looked cool. Nice detail, but it isn't enough. It is hard for me to care about those nice character details when the story damages the characters significantly. Like, I can appreciate the amount of effort and craftsmanship, but character damage is still character damage. Well, that was the last resort. The suit was untested. So let me get this straight. Not going in earlier when you had allies to at least back you up against a powerful foe is not a smart move. But doing it after your allies are knocked out and you're facing your greatest enemy alone, who's at his peak, is better. How?
It is of no concern.
But this whole fight scene doesn't just damage All Might's intelligence, it also damages what All Might's arc was after his battle with All For One back in Season 3. At the start of the series, my man was the top dog, being more strength focused and putting heavy emphasis on himself being the symbol of peace. But after his battle with All For One, he had to retire since he couldn't fight anymore. But he still proved that he's the GOAT by being a mentor and using his wisdom to guide Deku. It was proof that even without his powers, he still had worth and value as a person. But him wearing a power suit just undermines it. The whole point of All Might's character is to prove that his worth isn't being a powerhouse. To show your worth doesn't end because you are retired and there's so much you can do with your life. That was a neat detail that I liked. But for him to fight again and lose, it shows this moment isn't a natural progression of All Might's character, but rather it puts more energy into hype moments and aura, and not good writing. And no, Patrick, just because Force Ghost Night Eye literally points out this part of his arc to All Might doesn't make it good writing. Also, thank you. Now United States Smash really meant nothing after All For One brutally beats All Might and parades him around, and about to rip him in two. Like, really, what was the point of that fight in Season 3 then? All Might avenged his master and ended his career as the symbol of peace on his terms. And he did it all while inspiring the next generation. This whole rematch is just Camino, but worse on all levels. Now I like parts of the fight. I like to see more of All Might's history. I like All Might getting his eyes back to being normal again, showing he got life back in him. And there's some great imagery. I like when Stain and All Might tag team All For One for a bit. Cool to have All Might team up with the embodiment of taking his ideals too far. I like Stain's final moments against All For One.
You taught me exactly what a hero should be. Stay alive and win.
But it is still an unneeded fight with characters who already had their time in the spotlight. If I could change the subplot, I would take All Might out of the fight and instead bring Bakugo back early. Maybe All Might distracts All For One the best he can to buy time. Maybe he's about to sacrifice himself by goading All For One to attacking him. But then Bakugo shows up and it's young All For One versus Bakugo. I think it's the best of both worlds when it comes to the All For One fights. All Might stands firm to face his greatest enemy without damaging his character, both in terms of his character arc and not being a dumbass, and lets Bakugo have more time with All For One, and we get more of their dynamics. You also get what both fights were going for, which were tests of endurances and a countdown. At first, Bakugo has to hold off All For One, using every trick he has to buy time. Then slowly, he turns it around when All For One is running out of time and he has to bail. But Bakugo then goes for the attack and beats him. Plus it makes the material that Bakugo and All For One have, which we'll get to later, even better. The idea that an extra from All For One's POV actually standing firm and making him sweat, his confidence waning over time that he isn't going to beat the people he spent his existence trying to destroy, but rather be beaten for good by someone who he would have seen as not even worth a thought. Thus the story of All For One doesn't end with a grand battle between his greatest enemies, but rather he is beaten by a regular person trying to do the right thing.
Inspiring.
Overall, this part of the arc has moments of greatness, but it's the clearest examples of killing your darlings, because while it's epic, it just does more damage than good with regards to All Might's character and what his development has been throughout the series. I get what Horikoshi was trying to do. One more battle between two bitter enemies of many years. I really do get the appeal. But in my opinion, these two had their time, and he should have let other characters into the spotlight for this climax. But don't worry, All Might wasn't the only one who got damaged here. All For One is also massively damaged by this arc. So let's talk about it. I once held the opinion that All For One was the best villain in the series. He had the power and aura of a chess master who has been manipulating things for hundreds of years. He had a great dynamic with All Might, where they had been at each other's throats and had battled to the point of breaking their own bodies. And he showed how truly evil he is after what he did to Tenko Shimura, grooming him into his successor. And through it all, he had an evil, grinning smile, almost a dark reflection of All Might. He was so freaking good, man. But All For One started to get a lot worse as a villain as time went on. Now he worked well as an occasional reminder of the oncoming storm that was Shigiraki, by teasing the chaos and destruction he will bring. It was a good way to hype Shigiraki up to the greatness he would bring to the series. But then it got annoying when he took Shigaraki's rightful spot as the main villain, because I don't know, I guess that would be too interesting. They became a walking symbol of staying past your welcome, because All For One, despite his villainy and aura, he could never match what Shigaraki was to Deku. You know, the main character? That dynamic being the similarities between these characters. Both of them who wanted to be heroes as children, but wanted different paths in life. They are the perfect match for each other. And I still stand by my belief that Shigaraki should have killed All For One back in Season 6 to cap off his transformation. A dark parallel to All Might and Midoriya, where One For All users pass on their powers through trust and belief in their successors, while All For One users eventually betray each other for greater power and control. Think the Jedi and Sith from Star Wars, basically. But we don't live in that world, so we are stuck with All For One as the big bad guy. And this arc has shown how limited All For One really is as a character. You see, All Might and All For One work well against each other because of their histories and how much they hate each other. That brings so much sauce to their interactions. But he lacks that when he faces any other character. Yeah, the 1A students and everyone hates him because he did a lot of damage, but they do not have the same intense hatred All For One and One For All users have for each other. I have a question. Outside of Bakugo and All Might, what would be the difference for the people who fought All For One if they just fought a really big guy? Like just a muscle mass of pure power. Seriously. And even with the characters he has substance with, it's really not worth it to have him undermine the themes and the intended main villain of the series. No, All For One was never meant to be the endgame villain of the series, despite what people will tell you. Now I know this, but I can't prove it. But let me go abstract to explain what I mean. Imagine, if you will, you have a big villain at first, who is the big boss over the underling, but then the big boss is taken out, so now the underling takes over and has character development to set them up as the final boss. But then it turns out, nah, the old villain is back and he just makes the underling his goon again. And now all that development means nothing now. I have just described to you both Shigaraki's story and Kylo Ren's story in the sequel trilogy.
What?
Okay, I admit the contexts are different. Kylo Ren and Shigaraki have different motives. All For One's return isn't as bullshit as Palpatine's, and MHA, despite my criticisms, still has more coherence in both narrative and theme intentions than those movies will ever have. But when I break down Shigaraki and All For One's story in simple terms, you see why I say All For One was never meant to be the final boss. And it doesn't help at all that Horikoshi really tried to shoe in All For One more into Shigaraki's story with that moment. But we'll talk about his reveal with Shigaraki later, because oh boy, that is a choice that needs a deep dive. But don't worry, there's enough in the rest of the arc to absolutely clown on All for fraud. In this scene, All For One sees Bakugo show up and stop him from killing All Might. So what does he do when he sees a new threat enter his arena? Does he A, run away as fast as he can, B, attack Bakugo while he's distracted, or C, stand around and do nothing?
Now what? Do I finish All Might before I leave?
Why are you watching Bakugo talk to All Might? Run, you idiot! You have no time! Or why don't you fight? Why are you so stupid? Don't even say he was too shocked to do anything, because he was just standing there for a few minutes without even trying to do something. If he actually moved here, or launched an attack while Bakugo was distracted, All For One could have won. But he didn't, because he received the same brain damage All Might got in this arc. And in the final battle, where a whole bunch of heroes are ganging up on him, who are weakened and exhausted from the war, you think he would take a few bodies out, right? He fucking doesn't kill any of the heroes. How? You're telling me he didn't get one of them? There's no fucking way no one died, especially since some of the heroes took direct hits. I cannot believe this.
What a joke!
He also doesn't kill off the heroes in this scene after he beats Hawks and Co., despite him literally having Hawks by the throat! What? Why are you standing around here when you are on a time limit? Why are you bothering just to stand around for no reason if you're not going to kill anyone here? All for One is overconfident. He wants to rub it in their faces. Oh yeah, right. All for One has never tried to kill someone in the series after fucking with them.
My all. How frightening a wounded hero can be. But I won't.
And if you're going to tell me he wanted to torture Hawks, then why doesn't he try to kill Mina or anyone else there? Wouldn't that fuck up Hawks mentally that a child was murdered in front of him and All for One taunts him about it? And if you're going to say that All for One wanted everyone to see the heroes beaten up and made people lose hope, then here's a thought. Why doesn't he take Hawks or whoever and then snap their necks on live TV? Feels like that would break the masses if they saw a popular hero murdered. Fuck it. He can just use Hawks' quirk and stab everyone there in their hearts. Same thing accomplished, but better because seeing dead heroes works better than seeing them alive. But never mind all that because he should have snapped Hawks' neck here because he already got him in a chokehold. So why does he waste time staring at him? And yeah, don't even use the time limit excuse because he stood around for several seconds and does nothing while staring at Hawks, and he did nothing for 3 fucking minutes after Bakugo saved All Might. So yeah, All for One is a dumbass and Hawks should be dead. I almost fucking forgot that All for One didn't even kill the pilots. They're fine and alive. Because of course, no heroes are allowed to die in this arc for whatever fucking reason there is. What a way to make your villains so intimidating. What a way to make them so cool. The fact that they can't kill a single fucking hero at all in this arc. What a bum!
I'm gonna see my lawyer.
Why?
Gonna find out if you can sue a show for breach of taste.
And that reminds me, it's time to get to the most frustrating part of this arc. Everything else before was bad and annoying to varying degrees, but at least you can say there wasn't much potential to begin with. This part of the arc, it's both somehow well written and poorly written at the same time. Let me explain. Bakugo is arguably the character who has the most stupidity surrounding anyone during this arc, though this isn't his fault, it's because quite literally the plot bends around him to cartoonish effect. But first, let's talk about Bakugo's role in the story since the start and how he has changed as a character. Bakugo started off as an asshole who wanted to be a hero because he thought he was better than everyone else, because he wanted to be the one to surpass All Might. It didn't help that literally everyone told him he was amazing from a young age, so he gave him an inflated ego and made him think he was the best, especially when he often bullied Midoriya for being quirkless, thinking someone like him could never be a hero. However, Bakugo, bit by bit, started to change when he reached UA. His peers called him out his personality. He got shown up, and even when he won the tournament in Season 2, it wasn't a real victory, since Shoto was holding back. This all means Bakugo's worldview started to change with these new experiences. Bakugo's humbling got even worse when he got kidnapped by the League of Villains, which caused All Might to go and save him, and have his fateful encounter with All for One. And after the whole ordeal, Bakugo felt guilty because he thought he ended All Might. Bakugo felt ashamed because All Might fought to save him from All for One, and Bakugo saw himself as too weak, that if he was stronger, he wouldn't have been captured, and All Might would have still been the symbol of peace. It doesn't help as well that his mom called him weak for getting captured, which you know, is pretty fucked up for her to say to her son who got kidnapped and almost died. Then in Season 4, after failing to get his hero's license, he did a course to earn it and encountered a kid who had a similar outlook to his younger self. But you know, less rage-driven. The shit disturber kid was causing his classmates to be riled up and be an absolute headache for their teacher. And it was Bakugo's and the other students' job to get them to calm down, which they did. Then afterwards, Bakugo then told the kid that looking down at people was a bad thing, showcasing he had moved on from his old worldview.
If you keep looking down on everyone else, you'll never be able to see your own weaknesses. That's just some advice from one of your elders.
And in Season 6, he finally apologized to Midoriya for being a dick to him for years, showcasing how much he matured and grown as a person, owning up to everything he did, cementing his growth, and becoming a radically different person than he was at the start of his journey. What I'm saying here is that Bakugo has gone through an arc where he became more self-reflective, going from fighting for his own glory to being selfless and a better person, though still having an attitude. Hey, I did say Bakugo became a better person. I never said he became a more chill person. But I digress. And to cap it off, Hori made a touching tribute and great set-off to Bakugo. Whether or not you liked his character, it's clear he changed and has matured. He's still an asshole, but he has grown to reflect on his past actions and try to be better. It's one of the best send-offs for a character before their death. It's really good. Bakugo does his best, he does damage, but he ultimately fails. However, he dies at peace, as he reflects on everything from his admiration of All Might to really coming to see Midoriya as being a better hero than him. A major contrast from how he saw Midoriya as a loser and never had a chance to be one. It's a sad and tragic end, but it's potent and powerful, where you can feel this war can take anyone, not even a main character is safe, but isn't pointless or for shock value. It was built up, it had meaning, and Bakugo went out like an absolute GOAT. Legitimately perfection on all levels, and I have no complaints here. An amazing end to arguably the most complex character in My Hero Academia. So they fucked it up. So it turns out Edgeshot has a secret family move where you can just repair Bakugo's heart by just turning very thin and going inside his body? What? Huh? Wait, what?
But wait! There's more!
And then, Genuis helps out Edgeshot, and soon Bakugo's heart is rebuilt, and he can go back into the fight near the end of the arc.
Oh, there's a lot of holes in that story! Let me sit down for a moment!
This moment is so fucking stupid! Now for a reminder, Edgeshot's power is to turn very thin, skinnier than paper. And he can turn skinny enough to get into someone's body and kind of fuck with them, like he did with Kawiria back in Season 3. Okay, so Edgeshot using his powers to affect someone's internal organs is set up, and while it's not shown, I can buy him affecting a person's body positively, like stopping internal bleeding or closing a wound. Alright, sure. What I can't buy is what he did in this arc. Now, I'm not a doctor, but making a heart and several other organs work after they bled out badly is impossible. No, I don't mean partly broken, I mean bleeding out badly and he's basically dead. As in his heart is gonzo. There is nothing for Edgeshot to do here. Even if the heart's still repairable after the loss of that much blood, an organ is not made of Lego pieces. You can't just reassemble it and just hope it works.
That is not how that works!
Also, I don't think I should be understating this, but Bakugo fucking died! He was brain dead for at least a few minutes. There is no universe that Bakugo should be able to be brought back from the dead. What the fuck is going on? Is this a prank? Am I being duped? Is this actually canon? The stakes are just gone now. No one's gonna take this seriously because people can be brought back from the dead when they're supposed to be gonzo. You know, it doesn't help the look here that the story is bending over backwards for the most popular character in the series. This shows so much fucking favoritism that you give Bakugo 2 fake out deaths and really milk it. It cheapens those moments because what's the point of these sincere, beautiful moments when Bakugo just pops right back up and goes back to fighting with no long-term repercussions? And if a fake out is really that important, if there was no other choice, then at least give Bakugo something less bullshit to come back from. Because I'm sorry, he should be dead! Maybe instead of his heart stopping, he loses a lot of blood from his wounds, and that's why he's out of the fight for a while. Then Edgeshot is less ridiculous because he's now only closing wounds. I mean, it's still bullshit, but not impossible. Since all this bullshit medical crap wouldn't have worked if Bakugo wasn't a main character. My Hero Academia isn't a documentary, it's a superhero story. It can do whatever it wants. Suspension of disbelief. Fuck you. Suspension of disbelief is a must when it comes to any story. But you know what's important for all stories? Internal consistency. And you know what? This moment is so internally inconsistent. The series does take injuries somewhat seriously. Characters do get hurt, and they often have to wait a bit before they are healed. It's very clear when an injury happens, it's something to take seriously. This factor has been established since Season 1. Did we all forget that Night Eye had a hole put into him and he died? And bear in mind, he lasted way longer and he was in a proper hospital. What, did he not renew his plot armor insurance? What I'm saying is that internal consistency is being broken here because it doesn't follow the rules set up by the story on Edgeshot's powers or how injuries are looked upon in My Hero Academia. I'm pointing out that this is stupid not because it's not realistic. I'm pointing out this is stupid because it's inconsistent with the rules set up by the story. And it undermines the stakes because if Bakugo can come back from the dead, then why should we worry about anyone actually dying in this arc? Also, Edgeshot makes a point about how he needs to clean himself up before going to Bakugo's body. But, he already went inside Bakugo's body with the dirty parts of himself. Yeah, Genuis did the same thing with his fiber, but at least he had a better excuse since he had no time to clean up. So yeah, Edgeshot just killed Bakugo.
You're a terrible hero!
And if anyone's gonna say that it doesn't matter, then why the fuck does Edgeshot make a big deal of it? What's even funnier is that Edgeshot lives through this sacrifice. They make a big deal of this move that could kill Edgeshot, but not only does he live, he returns back to his normal fucking form. Are you trying to make me crash out here? Fuck this. I don't want to hear anyone defend Midnight's bullshit death again using the Marilism defense when this fucking crap exists with Bakugo and Edgeshot. Fuck off. Actually, wait a minute. With Edgeshot's dialogue with Genuis, it's implied Genuis knows he can do this, and we find out this is a family technique that Edgeshot learned. So why is Genuis even making a big deal of it? He should know Edgeshot has a good chance of living through this. So all this bullcrap was for nothing but to build some hollow excuse for suspense. And no, don't headcanon a scenario where all this could make sense. As said earlier in the Mina section, you can't make up stuff and use that as evidence to defend this writing! Now, after Bakugo wakes up, he locks in and saves All Might from All For One. Then there's this big epic fight with the big bad, and it's actually good? Let's go through it. All For One for his entire life never cared or thought about normal people. Extras from his POV were never important or a threat to him. Even most One For All users fell into this camp because they were just random people who thought they could win against him. But here comes Bakugo, someone who All For One probably saw as nothing more than just a piece on the board to use to get what he wants, could actually stop him, and that terrifies him. He isn't All Might, Yuichi, or Midoriya, he's just a random person to him. He's rebuttal to All For One. He's proved that One For All isn't only the power, but what it means. It inspires people to fight against impossible odds and be greater. Bakugo especially, since he's the best friend of Midoriya, whose actions had a great impact on him and changed him for the better. But it's especially bad for All For One, since Bakugo looks like Kudo, the second One For All user who saved Yuichi. In All For One's mind, a person he despises has returned from the dead to give him one last middle finger and stop him in his tracks. A person who stands up to evil and tyranny, but this time, All For One is going to lose. Not only because Bakugo is strong, but because Bakugo was inspired by what One For All means, to give hope and joy to those who need it. That one thing, hope, is enough to give anyone the will and power to stand against the ultimate evil. That showcases what true heroism is. Not by power, but how you inspire people to be better and have the courage to take on any challenge. And so ends the story of All For One. He goes out not against his greatest foe, but beaten by a normal person trying to do the right thing.
Goat shit only.
Don't get me wrong, I still think All For One vs All Might was a better dynamic. I still think All For One's purpose is already dragged out way past when it should have been ended, but it works for what it is, and you know what? It's a great final moment for Bakugo before the end of the story. At least Bakugo did something in this arc and has a big W under his belt. He defeated the biggest asshole in the series and became a true hero. He embodies the idea that One For All isn't just cool powers, but genuine hope and inspiration for all. Stand proud, Bakugo. You did good. And now Shigiraki and Midoriya can have their big climactic fight, which the entire series was building towards. Now nothing can ruin this moment.
You serious?
Yeah, let's talk about how this plot point fails. Midoriya vs Shigiraki honestly represents the best and worst parts of the series. Great characters and investing moments, but the actual bullshit writing makes me want to crash out. But enough bullshitting, let's jump into it. This is the big final battle. Years and years of build just for this moment. We actually got to see them smack down with each other. Midoriya is trying his best to reach Shigiraki, but Shigiraki is still committed to his ideals. It's great stuff. And yeah, I will not lie, the hype moments in Aura got to me.
Second gear! Third gear! Top gear!
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
And like I said in the last section, it was so fucking nice that All For One got yeeted out of existence so the real main act can take his place. We get Midoriya still committed to save Shigiraki, even with the odds against him. It does build a good sense of fear and dread as you wonder how Midoriya can save the day. But no matter what, he is still committed to save Shigiraki because he still sees him as a little boy that is hurting deep down inside. So his writing is still consistent and the drama is built up quite well from where it was set up. This is so fucking good. But everything slowly begins to fall apart with, well, let me just show you.
Master. Master. There's a sad child in there.
How are you here, Star? Last I checked, your quirk was kicked out of All for One because you almost killed him. No, I don't buy that there will be remnants of a quirk remaining because that's stupid. Is it like crumbs you need to clean up after you have dinner? And don't say because the transfer was rushed. If that's the case, then why was Shinomari taken immediately after Shigaraki stole his power? Especially since it mimics the same way Shigaraki and All for One got rid of New World Order, with it being brief and quick in terms of power transferring. Actually, fuck that. Shigaraki had more time to get rid of New World Order than taking away the One for All users' powers. And if you're going to tell me that ejecting a power is different from taking a power, the story doesn't specify beforehand that's how All for One worked with regards to that detail. Yeah, it's not possible for it to work like that, but the fact it's only being brought up now is extremely convenient for what's about to happen. Also, are you just hidden here, Star? How? You're telling me that All for One and Shigaraki never noticed you? Seems pretty fucking stupid for both of them, especially since one of them is meant to be intelligent. But they needed a reason for why Star is here because Midoriya needs a way to reach Shigaraki's heart and get the rest of the plot going. Speaking of that,
There's a sad child in there.
No, Star, I don't think they should listen to the dumbass who botched the easiest victory of all time. Also, why should they trust you as a legitimate source? For all they know, this could be a trap set by Shigaraki since it's pretty convenient for you to pop up and tell them what they need to do. And don't even say All Might sensed it was her, because again, this seems like a trap. But whatever, after throwing a few One for All users at the problem, Midoriya and Nana are able to gain access to Shigaraki's mind. We get to see Shigaraki's memory, particularly the one where his father beats him again. And Nana sees this and feels a rush of emotions. So she gives herself up to break the last wall between Midoriya and Shigaraki, and she gives a hug to her son one more time, apologizing for leaving him all those years ago. I have no complaints here, it's wonderful stuff, so let's keep moving. Now we get Midoriya and Shigaraki talking it out here, and it's really good. I like the interactions with Midoriya and Shigaraki in the mind world, where Shigi reveals he's doing this to be a hero to the villains he worked with. It adds a deeper meaning to their relationships, showing Shigaraki actually care for the League as his family, not as just tools. Showing his ideals aren't just committed into breaking a system that broke him, but to fight for other broken people who have had a similar bad hand in life. You know what? I really like having the final battle not be an actual fistfight, but a battle of ideals and morals. That is legit a unique way to have these enemies end their story. I mean, it's not like the story is going to undermine this moment with some top tier bullshit.
You broken vessels. You would yield your mind and submit to this nobody, this child?
No. There's no fucking way he's back. Fuck off. What? Why are you back? You died. Why are you back in the fucking story, man? Fucking wow. I guess even Bakugo doesn't get to have his moment. Way to take away the one fucking thing he had going for him in this arc. Way to waste our fucking time with all that build up with him facing All for One. Like really? What's the point of having All for One get beaten by Bakugo when he just pops right back up again? What's the point of taking away Bakugo's most powerful moment? Just for a shock reveal? And finally, what's the fucking point of having Shigaraki and Midoriya actually doing their dynamic when All for One just takes over again? I don't get it. What's the vision here of undermining several important characters' key moments? Like, I'm sorry I'm so focused on the whole Bakugo thing, but it's just baffling to me. It just makes me weep. And yeah, All for One versus Midoriya doesn't work. Since you know, Midoriya isn't All for One's most hated person, they don't have a history, Midoriya doesn't even look like someone All for One hated in the past. And it's fucking annoying how we got here, where we undermined two other important characters having their big final moments with the prick. Why? Was it that important to have these two face off even if it undermines the story? Fuck off. And oh boy, just wait, it gets way worse. Because All for One reveals something truly shocking to Shigi and Deku.
What the fuck? Is that Shadow's dick?
No, that would actually be less insulting than what happens in the actual story. All for One is responsible for every bad thing that happened to Shigaraki, from influencing Shigaraki's dad to manipulating his friends and gave him decay.
Don't you realize that no choice in your pitiful life has been your own?
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck!
Hello there. The name's Sean. Got it memorized? I'm Sean Reviews, and I'm a YouTuber and voice actor as well, who hopefully by the time this video has released, I have made a video about the new Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. But anyway, given how Arcwinder just had a panic attack over a twist, I'm stepping in for this review, for this segment anyway. So anyway, let's go over why this twist kinda sucks. Shigaraki's whole life was meant to be a dark parallel to Midoriya, where he wanted to be a hero, but unlike Deku, who had the love and support of his mother, Shigaraki had the abuse of his father, constantly beating him because of his hatred for Hero Society because of Nana abandoning him as a child. He also represented the aspect of darkness in Hero Society where his plight and pain were overlooked. He was like the Joker in a way. He had one bad day and everything collapsed for him. And Shigaraki was then abandoned by society because they thought, hey, you know that kid who clearly needs help? Screw him, let's just wait for a hero to save him. Surely nothing bad could happen. Oh. Yeah, maybe we should have saved that kid before he committed that much murder. And because of that, All For One was able to take advantage of him and turn him into his weapon. It parallels a lot of the world where people are often forgotten about and then used by the worst of people to do what they want. But this arc decided to reveal that it was All For One who did that. It wasn't Shigaraki who had terrible luck and was born into a terrible environment. Nope, it turns out that All For One created that terrible environment for him by being close to Shigaraki's dad. And it's not that Shigaraki was born with a quirk that he couldn't handle and couldn't get proper guidance to use. Nope, All For One stole his quirk and gave him a shitty quirk. And I say this, not because Arcwinder wrote my script for me, but because it undermines the intention of MHA, with the concept of society failing and creating villains. When it turns out, clearest example of this idea might have just been fine if All For One never fucked with him. Yeah, Shigaraki still would have had an abusive father, but with no decay, his life would have been drastically different. Now this is just me stepping in to give my own piece on it, because at first, I hated this twist, much like Arcwinder did when it came to him giving me my script for this segment, but upon reevaluating it, I am hesitant to say I hate it in some aspects. There's nothing that contradicts All For One knowing about Shigaraki's father. If anything, in Season 3, it was confirmed that he knew that Shigaraki, ever since he was a child, was the descendant of Nana. So by all accounts, he should know who Nana's son was. And you could make an argument that All For One amplified Shigaraki's father's hatred of Hero Society. And also there's no contradiction of All For One being able to steal Shigaraki's original quirk and giving him decay. The problem is how the explanation is explained. It goes by way too quickly for a proper evaluation of the twist, and it just leaves me thinking, huh? Listen, I could see a version of this twist working, but because of the fact that the show breezed past it because they want to move on to the final battle, it kind of just makes me feel nothing but anger and resentment for this twist. Even though, in a way, this twist could have worked and does have some things that make sense about it. But much like Arcwinder, I do agree that it would have been better if All For One didn't mess with Shigaraki, if All For One revealed that he could have saved Shigaraki from this life earlier, but didn't because he found so much joy in seeing Nana's greatest mistake screw over her kid and her family. He only saw the value in Shigaraki after he showed his potential as a villain and as a way to get back at Nana Shimura. Anyway, that's all for me. Arcwinder, I hope you've calmed down, and yeah, I'll let you take care of this review. Bye!
Thank you, Sean. Now it's my turn. Holy shit, that was awful on all levels. I don't even get what the vision here is. What's the point of bringing back All For One again after he was beaten by Bakugo? The meaning and coolness of that scene is now undermined and ruined. And yes, I know the story wrote itself into a corner with Shigaraki basically locked it into being committed to his friends to the bitter end. So it'd be very hard to get him to change sides without breaking his character. But you know what you do here? Redraft your story and make it work better to get everything you want. As it is now, the story is all over the place and the meaning's just gone now with this asshole of a choice. And it comes off as unintentional comedy. You know how the scene really comes off as?
It was me, Tomura. I told your dad to take your Nintendo away so you'd be forced to be a PC player and play League of Legends, thus setting you on the path of evil.
So after Midoriya is yeeted out of Shigaraki's body, it looks like he's cooked because he's unarmed. But quite literally, everyone swoops in to save the day, as every friend and ally of Midoriya shows up to back him up against All For One. They are all weak and tired, but they are backing up Midoriya to take down this asshole one more time. And yeah, the hype moments got to me again with this scene. All Midoriya's friends making it a route for him to face All For One again, with the music playing and the animation looking fantastic. It's so cool.
Your voices. You've got this! You've got this! You've got this!
You've got this!
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
I mean, I still stand by that All For One is a massive fraud for not killing any of these heroes, who I remind you are tired and weak from this war. But whatever, I'll take what I can get at this moment. Besides, there's still time left. Maybe, just maybe, this plotline can be salvaged. I mean, it wouldn't be great because we are past that point with somehow All For One returning, but hey, it can't get worse, right?
Izuku Midoriya, if Spinner is still alive, tell him this. Tomura Shigiraki fought to destroy everything until the bitter end.
Fuck! God damn it! I don't even know what to say anymore. So yeah, Midoriya killed Shigiraki. Now, to be fair, there weren't really a lot of paths to go aside from Shigiraki dying, since most people in the story and out of it wouldn't give Shigiraki a slap on the wrist for all the death and carnage he caused, and Shigiraki was going down swinging no matter what, so his death was a fixed point. But here's the thing, the story doesn't realize that Midoriya basically murdered Shigiraki. No, he saved him! Yeah, he saved him by punching him into the fucking Shadow Realm. Objectively speaking, Midoriya ended the life of Shigiraki. That is a fact. Granted, he was pretty down about it later in the hospital, but that's in the sense of, I failed big time, and not in the sense of, oh my god, I fucking murdered someone I was trying to save! Like, that's a big thing, and the story isn't paying attention to that detail. Yeah, he had no choice, but that doesn't mean he shouldn't take into account that he basically ended the life of someone he was trying to save. Like, did we all forget he still wanted to save Shigiraki? Even when everyone told him there was no other way but to kill him? This moment of killing Shigiraki should be deeply traumatizing to Midoriya. Midoriya should be more emo than a Zack Snyder character. It doesn't help that the story portrays the moment where Midoriya beats All For One as this big, final, good moment where light returns back to the series. Yeah, All For One is gone, until he's not, because I can't say for certain he's actually dead, but Midoriya murdered a person who was trapped in their own body. And it gets way worse. So in the hospital scene, Midoriya basically has gone over losing One For All.
I'm back to the person I was in the first place. Not that I regret it or anything. For a little while, I got to live out an incredible dream.
Oh my god, he has brain damage. He has fucking brain damage. Are you a fucking idiot? I cannot even believe what he just said.
Midoriya, what are you going on about? Now, I can see Midoriya eventually getting over losing One For All over the span of months, as it settles in and he accepts his reality, but right off the bat after a few days, bro, no. He didn't just lose One For All, he lost the users that lived in it. Generations of heroes, their powers, their souls are gone now because you wanted to save a villain, which you failed at, by the way. Those powers still could have been yours, and you could have still been able to help people if you just listened to the One For All users from the start, and not just do it at the end as a last minute resort. So Midoriya is basically punished for doing the thing he has been doing successfully for every single person he has redeemed so far. No, just because Shigiraki was free from All For One's grip doesn't mean he was saved. Being saved in My Hero is turning over a new leaf, rejecting what you used to believe in and becoming a better person. These redemptions happen with Nagant, Gento, Shoto, and Bakugo. They were worse people before Midoriya helped them find a better path. Meanwhile, Shigiraki never condemned or apologized for what he did. He didn't die in service of others, he died to get back at the guy who ruined his life. He died as a piece of shit who took out his pain on others and enjoyed it.
If that crying boy wasn't anywhere to be found, I think you actually did save his soul.
What are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
All Might, what have they done to you, man? Again, having Shigiraki not being a crying child anymore isn't being saved. Like I said, a bad guy turning good has to forego their old ways and embrace a better path. Shigiraki didn't regret anything he did when he was alive. If anything, Shigiraki was even worse at the end because he accepted who he was and embraced it. Yeah, Shigiraki died as a piece of shit, and anyone who says otherwise is just wrong. And don't even tell me that this isn't what the story is saying because it's framed like All Might has a point.
You're a terrible hero!
Now for an example of a villain being redeemed successfully, let's go to Star Wars. In the original trilogy, we have the character of Darth Vader, the right-hand man of the Emperor and the enforcer of the Empire. But despite those facts, Luke wanted to save him because Vader is his father. Vader hated everything he became and saw himself as too far gone.
It is too late for me, son.
Now, it's not impossible for a villain to not feel initially bad for what they did and later redeem them. But you see, you need to actually redeem them. Not just say they are free from being under control of a worse person. They have to actively make the choice to do the right thing by their own desires. And looky here, Vader actually did that after Luke beat him and refused to turn to the dark side because...
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Palpatine began to torment Luke with Force lightning. Vader, seeing his son being tortured, turned against Palpatine on his own choice. Key thing, he chose to betray the Emperor. He could have left his son to be killed, but he saved him by his own free will. Shigiraki was more that he had to work with another enemy to take on a bigger enemy. He didn't renounce his mistakes or change for the better.
Tomura Shigiraki fought to destroy everything until the bitter end.
Yeah, this piece of shit's not redeemed at all.
Good job.
Here's an idea for a fix. Maybe when All For One comes back, him and Shigiraki break up into two different people. Then in the final battle, Shigiraki gives up his life to weaken All For One and give Midoriya the chance to beat him. They do their final attack, they have their convo, and Shigiraki dies in Midoriya's arms. There at least, Shigiraki actively made a choice to save Midoriya, so you could kind of argue that he fits the bill of being saved, and the One For All users weren't retroactively proven right that killing Shigiraki was the best move. And if anyone's gonna say that makes no sense, does anything in the actual art make sense here? Also, let's address the best defense I will get for this plot point, since it's a good one. One can make the claim the fact Midoriya failed is the point. Some people are too far gone, but you can still learn from these events and try to stop the next Shigiraki from happening. And in this arc's defense, Shigiraki did have an impact on Deku. At least Midoriya felt bad about how things turned out, so he used that as a way to drive him and help to improve society. You can say that he did become a teacher so he could guide younger people to a better path and have emotional support for them. So good on Deku. But again, it's undermined because Midoriya basically was proven wrong by the One For All users. Told him that killing Shigiraki was the only way. But Midoriya convinced him no, there is another way. But then it turns out, they were right the whole time. So Midoriya just fucked himself and his allies over something that was always going to happen. Hell, in theory, Midoriya could have killed Shigiraki like the One For All users told him to do, and then after her ordeal, he can still advocate for giving support to people who need it and not having everyone put their faith in one guy. He essentially learned all this stuff before this arc, so it ain't like things would be radically different than they were in the actual story. Plus, it's wild to think that Midoriya felt worse for the villain that got thousands killed, rather than the One For All users he used as cannon fodder and they died in vain. Okay, they did agree to the plan, so it's not like they didn't give their consent, but Midoriya doesn't even think about the people he essentially killed was because he didn't listen to their advice about killing Shigiraki. And that's fucking insane.
You're a terrible hero!
And if any of y'all are going to bring up the theme/intention about One For All's purpose being fulfilled, that being to stop All For One, that's an argument based off theme. I'm arguing from a character position. Midoriya's not even thinking about the fact that his actions and intentions basically got rid of 7 souls and the loss of a great power that would have been of extreme usefulness. Dare I say it, it's very self-centered of him to focus only on himself and what One For All was for him, and not the great loss of One For All and the wisdom of 7 generations of users that just happened. And Midoriya is the last person on Earth I would call self-centered.
You disgust me.
However, this arc's not all bad. Yeah, I know, I spent over an hour bitching about everything I don't like about this arc, but there's still good here. Which, yeah, let's talk about that. Shoto and Dabi's subplot was so close to perfection, guys. We were this close to greatness. If only he didn't drag his feet. But first, a recap on the subplot setup in case you forgot. Here's what happened. The Todoroki family is a hellish thing, where Endeavor treated his wife and children like dog shit. Especially Toya, aka Dabi. The son that Endeavor and everyone thought died years ago because he was too unstable because of his quirk and general personality, and it's something that has scarred the family immensely since his alleged demise. But all this pain came right back up when Dabi showed up in the first war arc and revealed all this to the whole world, causing Endeavor to be cancelled for being a shitty human being. And Endeavor really isn't in the mental state to face the monster he created through his own cruel ambition, and Endeavor's the only one who's strong enough to face All For One, so he couldn't have done it regardless. So Shoto has to clutch up, and that's where we start in this arc.
Everybody got that?
And it's really good. It's a great back and forth between both brothers, with Shoto trying to reason with Dabi, but you know, Dabi's Dabi, and he really fucking hates Shoto, and he wants to burn everything related to Endeavor to the ground. And we get great character development here, where we see more of Dabi's backstory. We get more info about what happened to him after he left his family. He got taken in by All For One and was in a daycare under the care of Dr. Gareki. And yeah, all these kids were turned into Nomus at some point, which yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Now, Dabi did escape, but when he got home, he saw nothing change with the rest of his family. What's even worse, he thought everyone forgot about him. At that moment, he was motivated by rage to get back at Endeavor for treating him like shit, and from his POV, being tossed away. And you see that he wants to kill Shoto because he's a part of his dad's legacy, the son that replaced him, another person he blamed for ruining his life. Hence why he's ultra locked in to beat Shoto, as he really pushes the hero to his limits. But Shoto isn't down yet, and we see the final culmination of his character arc. At the start of the series, Shoto was a lone wolf who didn't want to use his powers because he saw it as Endeavor's. But as you know, Midoriya broke down those walls and had him embrace that power as his own. And at this moment, Shoto thinks back on how his friends impacted him, how he grew as a person because of Midoriya and his classmates. He became stronger through his friendships and developed into a better person because of his relationships. But not only that, he pushed and trained himself to be better. He gave himself proper self-help treatment to move past his trauma and grow as a person. And that is what makes him different from Dabi. Dabi let himself get destroyed by his anger and not letting go of his pain. He decides to keep growing it and make it stronger despite it literally killing him, since he never had the support or discipline to actually break from his father's shadow and be his own person. Ironically, Dabi hated his dad, but in a way, he's only living up to the ideals that his father wanted to see in his children, and becoming a far worse person than Endeavor ever was. But in the end, despite his overwhelming power, he will never have the strength of Shoto's discipline to actually move on and grow. And with that strength, Shoto subdues Dabi. His big moment, through his growth, he not only defeats his father's greatest failure, but beats a representation of what he was at the start of his journey. A person driven by anger and wanting to spite his father, but without friends to guide him to being a kinder, gentler person. By beating Dabi, Shoto becomes a true hero who isn't motivated on trying to spite his father, and Dabi, in a way, despite being beaten, gets what he always needed, proper support from a family member. Dabi was not given support and treatment due to his dad's actions, which caused him to go off the deep end. Now Shoto can be the person to give Dabi the support he always needed, since he knows how Dabi feels. Dabi now has the support he needs to move on with his life and become his own person away from his father's abuse. All around, a perfect ending for their characters. That is, if this was the actual ending for this subplot. Like, Dabi comes back after he pulls this power out of his ass, and somehow he can use it perfectly well. Not only that, he copies Shoto's super move down to a T, despite him literally just learning about it. No, I'm not buying the bullshit that he learned the attack from feeling it. That would be the equivalent of saying you learned how to aim a gun because you got shot. So shut it. And this subplot keeps dragging on, with stuff we don't even need. Like Jeten confirming a fan theory that he's related to the Todoroki family. This would be a nice addition to the series if it actually mattered to anyone or added something to the story. He never even met Shoto or had a moment with Dabi that used this part of their history at any point in the series, so it's just here for no good reason. At least the anime cut this scene, so kudos on that. Now, don't get me wrong, there is still good stuff here. I liked it when the Todoroki family all confronted Dabi and faced him head on. In isolation, it's a nice scene and pretty epic. I like how Ida helped out Shoto to beat Dabi, adding to what I said earlier about how Shoto gained strength from his friends. But this was Shoto's foe. He had more build up with Dabi. Plus again, it takes more time to get the Todoroki family into this fight and drags out the plotline far longer than it needed to be. How I would have done it is I would have smushed both fights into one. Instead of the Todorokis popping up and breaking the fight into two, keep it as one big fight and have only Ida back up Todoroki. It keeps the best of both worlds and saves time. Plus, it would have been way better to compress and cut down this subplot and use the extra time to expand the Mina and Shoji subplots from earlier. It might have not saved those plot lines, but would be a big help to make those aspects a little bit better and tighten the writing here. Aside from that, I do like Dabi's final scene in the story, where all the Todoroki family have their final talk with him, doing their best to give themselves and Dabi a chance of closure for everything that has happened. And I do like how Endeavor acts here, as he wraps up his arc. He pledges to watch over Dabi and make it up to him for all the damage he did to him, a radically different outlook to what he was when we first met him, as an asshole who only cares about surpassing All Might, even at the cost of his own family. My favorite part of the scene is Shoto getting his final words with Dabi. Shoto asks him what his favorite food is, to which Dabi responds with soba, and Shoto responds that is his favorite too, giving us the closest moment these two will ever get to be proper brothers. And it ends on a tragic note, as Dabi's locked away, apologizing to Shoto for never being a true brother to him.
Shoto, I'm sorry.
And I do like how Natsu here tells Endeavor to never interact with him again. He still hates his dad, and this is his way to actually move on with his life. And Endeavor accepts it and lives with the consequences he brought upon himself. He doesn't beg, he understands that his kids need to move on, and he lets them. The perfect ending for everyone here, with the victims being allowed to live their lives and move past their trauma in the best way they can. While the abuser doesn't get to have their happy ending, he at least gets a chance to do better and atone for the rest of his life. Tying well with one of the main messages of MHA, that even if you've done bad, it's never too late to change.
God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit.
As it stands, this subplot works for what it tries to do. I just think it should have been cut down more to really tighten the writing to really deliver a flawless storyline. But compared to everything else I've talked about so far, I'll take it. Oh, don't worry, there is still one more good subplot to go through, like actual good shit. So let's go through it. Now we get to the aspect of this arc that is honestly pretty great from start to finish. Toga and Uraraka's subplot. There's not much for me to say here since it's well written, and this video has gone on for way longer than I wanted it to be, so let's go through this fast. But first, we have to go through the history between Toga and Uraraka. The first time Uraraka and Toga met each other, there weren't any signs that they were going to have a very intense relationship, as they did. Because you know, Toga was a crazy blood person, and that scared Uraraka to say the least. But as time went on, we learned more about Toga's backstory. She was hated and feared as a child because of her blood quirk. She scared everyone away from her. Even her own parents were disgusted by Toga's existence. Granted, she did drink that bird's blood that one time, and she did drink the blood of one of her classmates, but that's because she didn't have the proper support network for her quirk. And everyone thought she was a freak beforehand, so she had no one to fall back on. I'm not excusing what she did, not at all. I'm just saying these actions weren't born out of trying to be cruel to other people. So eventually she ran away and found a home with the League of Villains. They were a family of sorts to her who accepted her for who she was, especially Twice, where they were extremely close to each other. Their relationship is built up in seasons 4 and 5, where they have each other's backs and help each other to sort through their trauma. But as we all know, Twice was killed by Hawks in season 6, which caused Toga to go off the deep end. To say she hated all heroes after this would be an understatement. Heroes are supposed to help and save people, and yet Toga nor Twice were saved by these heroes. But Uraraka wanted to reach out to Toga because she wanted to help out everyone who's hurting, especially someone like Toga, who, while she was a villain, Uraraka wanted to understand Toga and give her a proper shot at life. Uraraka is the emotional support that Toga needed for all her life, as Uraraka is fighting through the years of pent-up trauma and loneliness, giving Toga something that very few people gave her beforehand, unconditional love. And Uraraka does actually manage to get through to Toga and connect with her.
Am I cute? The cutest.
The problem is now that Uraraka is bleeding out badly, and there's no nearby hero to save the day. So Toga, using her quirk, turns into Uraraka and transfers her blood into Uraraka to save her. But sadly, this transfer kills Toga. Now, this moment is polarizing to the fanbase, and for the people who hate this moment, I completely understand. Toga is a character whose whole deal is that she wants to be freed from the hatred of society, to be accepted for who she is. And for her to basically die, I understand why people are upset. It doesn't help that Toga is a popular character with a lot of marginalized groups in the MHA community, with them empathizing with Toga when it comes to being bullied and tormented for things that they can't change about themselves. And it really doesn't help that Toga was one of the few openly LGBT characters who had plot relevance. And I don't mean plot relevance in the same way someone like TwiceJaeger did. Toga was someone who actually had an impact on the plot. So the optics are not the greatest here, I won't lie. I don't think Horikoshi meant anything malicious by this. I think he would have done the same thing if Toga was a guy. But I do get the frustration. But as a critic and being fair to the story, I think it works. There is great drama here where Horikoshi really fleshed out both characters. You see the true testament of heroism as Uraraka really pushes herself to try to break through Toga's walls and get through to her. and Toga went out saving someone she loved and who accepted her. A tragic end for sure, but an ending that had meaning and purpose. And it's not like Toga was forgotten about by Uraraka in a minute. Uraraka was devastated, and her relationship with Toga changed her in massive ways. Where after all these events happen, Uraraka really commits and starts a program to help kids with quirks that people would find to be repulsive and evil. So someone like Toga wouldn't be hated and feared and would get proper social support. And let's not forget, Toga's Force Ghost literally gave Uraraka the push she needed to finally end up with Midoriya, to tell her to move on with her life and not to be hung up on her anymore, pushing her to be happy and end up with the person she was perfect for the whole time. So overall, this plotline is still the best part of this arc, because I think it actually did everything it was trying to do well, and is mostly tightly written. Where I feel like this plotline meshed well with the themes of MHA, and delivered a powerful ending that strengthens both characters. Really, you guys should be asking about how this series somehow makes this plotline work and fails at Midoriya and Shigiraki when the outcomes are the exact same thing.
I don't know.
But before discussing more about this arc, time to talk about the epilogue, because I might as well throw in my thoughts on it. It won't affect my score on the final arc because, you know, different arcs, but I might as well just talk about it just to wrap up my thoughts on the series' ending. Yeah, I know it's weird that the actual final chapters of the series are good, while large chunks of arguably the most important arc aren't, but whatever. Let's just skim through the stuff I like, because this video has been going on way longer than I wanted it to be, and I still have things to say. Any bad stuff in the epilogue, I'll cover in the next section, since there isn't much of it. The epilogue is a nice little wrap-up where we see all the students as pro-heroes years down the line. It's nice to see them as adults who are successful in their lives since hero society changed itself. I like Uraraka as a quirk counselor, showing her relationship with Toga really impacted her, and she's doing her best to make sure another Toga never gets abandoned again by the system. I was mixed on Midoriya losing his quirks, but it made sense as I thought about it more and talked to other people about it. One for All served its purpose to stop All for One, and without the latter, the former had no purpose. Now don't get me wrong, how we got there is still pretty wonky as I said in the Midoriya and Shigiraki section, but in isolation, it works well, so I'll give it that. Plus it leads to the amazing payoff where Midoriya's classmates give him a super suit, so he can be a hero again, serving with his best friends. And Midoriya being quirkless and a pro hero works wonderfully, proving yes, you can be a hero without a quirk.
Inspiring.
I like Midoriya as a teacher, his knowledge and abilities matching perfectly with the job, and honestly, good for him. Bro saved the world and he went through hell. He deserves a peaceful 9 to 5. Plus, it is a great subversion. Deku wasn't the greatest hero ever because he reached a high score on a scoreboard. He actually changed society and improved it immensely by having people be kinder and gentler, by not having individuals take everything on their own, but instead working collectively for a better future. So I do appreciate how meaningfully Midoriya changed things on a grander scale that wasn't just, he killed the big bad villain. And honestly, if this was the ending proper, I would say it's not bad all things considered. But that's not how things happened. Now I'm going into, I know, but I can't prove it territory again. But I'm certain Horikoshi only made the other two endings because everyone hated the first one due to misinformation from a bad translation. Y'all took the word of a leaker and just rolled with it, even after the initial leaks were proven false. Like the fast food Deku memes were funny for a bit, but come on guys, stop spreading this bullcrap around like it's actually canon.
You disgust me.
But again, referring to my other points beforehand, it's nice to see Deku working as a hero again. I found it touching that his classmates got him this super suit to give him this chance once more, really showing how much Midoriya means to 1A and that this is their way to repay him for everything he's done for them. Then they all ride off into the sunset, ready to save the day, like the true heroes they are. And the other two endings really expand on it, with how they flesh out more of what I said here, especially with the dynamics and how the characters have changed and grown. Like how Midoriya's and Bakugo's relationship changed, showing Midoriya did really win at life, and he doesn't need to work for Bakugo's agency to fulfill himself or get anything that he already has. But yeah, overall, good ending. Revisiting this material again, I realized I didn't waste my time with MHA, and honestly, it's better than I remember if I'm being objective. So congrats Horikoshi, your story hit the target better than most finales do. But wait, I still have some things to say about the war arc, just some other stuff I couldn't find a way to fit into the other segments. So let's proceed and talk about those aspects. There are a bunch of other things I found to be poorly written in this arc, but they are enough to warrant their own segments, so let's just rapid fire through them. Toga, for some reason, doesn't kill any of the heroes, despite the fact that in her crash out, she very much wants to kill them. She has them under twice clones. Just beat them to death. Hey, I said Toga was the best part of this arc. I didn't say she was perfect. Melee should be dead here because look at that attack. And if you're going to say that Ulfrin was holding back, or Melee can just take life-ending shots like that, then I really have nothing to say to you because you're in your own reality and there's nothing I can say to bring you back from it. Well, I don't mind the My Hero movies I've seen. Can't I them raises a bunch of questions? Man, Melissa, you really dipped and didn't even bother to help Deku out, even from a distance. Yes, I know that in team-up missions she worked with Hetsume for a bit, but that's not in the story proper, so I'm not considering it. I don't like how Mina's characterization has regressed. Now in season 5, after some antics, Mina had enough of him and kinda brainwashed him. And afterwards, Mineta acted pretty normal. It has subtle detail of development and shows some growth, but then Hori regressed him because the funny. Proof that anime cape shit can have the same problems as Western cape shit.
We're out of the vegetarian too. Now we only have beef.
Beef. Because that's all you have, right?
Okay, you'll have.
The arc also has a tacked-on friendship between Edgeshot and Genuis, and is rushed. It's meant for us to feel bad for Edgeshot, but it doesn't work because it was last minute and the story forgot to develop them. Not that it matters because Edgeshot still returned in bullshit fashion, meaning this wasted our time for nothing. Hawks is so idiotic for keeping the ranking system around, despite it having no real benefit to it.
A lot of people helped out during the war, not just the pros. I think the chart should give props to everyday heroes too. The chart has plenty of issues, that's for sure, but it's not all bad. I want to update it and focus on the positive aspects.
Oh my god, he has brain damage. He has fucking brain damage. Are you a fucking idiot? I cannot even believe what he just said.
Yes, the ranking system caused Endeavor to be a massive asshole, which helped create Dappy, and it's just gonna be stuff with heroes like always, but I'm gonna keep it around because I'm a fucking idiot. Once again, they underdeveloped Aizawa's, Present Mike's, and Korigiri's relationship. The two old friends barely talked about Korigiri before this arc. Especially in regards to the fact that one of their best friends and Shiriku's love interest, Midnight, is now dead. But Arcwinder, you just said you wouldn't consider third-party material as a valid source. The difference is people will use third-party sources as a way to try and plug up plot holes in the story, while I'm pointing out how the series fails to connect with material that is used to set up the Korigiri twists. We are not the same. Also, they bring up Shoji again here, where he gets a reward for being a mutant rights advocate. This was barely in the main series, and it's rushed through in the final, so this is just hollow, so I ain't giving you credit. Also, one last tiny thing, this kid has Endeavor merchandise, despite the fact that everyone knows he's an abuser and create a supervillain that helped do mass murder. That's like having O.J. Simpson merch after he killed his ex-wife.
What?
But wait, don't worry, there are still some good things in this arc that I really like, so let's talk about that. Okay, let's talk about the things I like about this arc. I like the little moment with Mina and Kirishima, especially with how their friendship was subtly set up throughout the series. See, it's not that hard to show characters being close to each other. I like the homage to Endgame, on the nose, but I couldn't help but smirk at it. Oh my god, is that Crush's brother? Yo, the goat still lives on through his family! We are so fucking back! My bad. Let's continue. Oh yeah, Bakudeku got deconfirmed hard. Get fucked, punks. I will enjoy your salty tears for the rest of time. Thank you, Horikoshi. Thank you. I like the material with Nidre that the anime added in. It makes the relationship she has with Mirio and Tomoshiki even better, as we see what her world was like before those two goobers brightened it up for her. And we finally get to see the big three take on a big bad together as they fight off Shigiraki. Though it wasn't very long, I'll take it. This shot with Tokoyami was generational. The flashback with All Might as mom got to me, alright? It's just so freaking cute. Really, all the flashbacks with All Might this arc are phenomenal. It just shows how much he was the GOAT even back when he was a teenager before One for All. He still wanted to do good even without power. Sero got his hype moment at long last, which was so cool. Despite the criticism I gave in this scene with regards to All For One, Deku running towards him with the last bits of One For All, with the whole world cheering him on, is freaking amazing! I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I do like the backstory All For One gets in this arc. It adds even more dread and sadism to this guy, to see he's just the embodiment of pure evil, even from a young age. Where from his earliest moments in life, he was leeching off Yuichi, abusing him, and showing how genuinely unhinged this asshole was. So in isolation from the rest of the arc, it does make his final defeat satisfying. As he loses control, everything starts to fall apart. Underneath his sadistic personality and his aura farming, he's just a lonely person with nothing meaningful to show for his life, as his little brother ditches him before the One For All users and Shigiraki kick his ass. I do like how years later after everything, Midoriya and Uraraka's career paths had them become role models to younger people and set them on a right path. Perfect for their characters to help out the younger generation. And I do like how Force Ghost Toga is the one that makes Uraraka talk to Midoriya, pushing her to move on and get with the person she so obviously likes. Thank you, Toga. You have shown you're a real one by making the toxic shippers upset. We will never forget you. And let's not forget the goat himself, Gentle Criminal. His material in this arc was amazing. Him coming back and clutching up was fucking good. The VA, John Gramillion, who I got to meet a few months ago, best described Gentle's arc. To sum up crudely, at the start, Gentle didn't want to be forgotten, so he became someone else. But now at the end, he gets to be who he is deep down inside, the hero that he always knew he was, and he saves the day.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Production value is phenomenal. Bones committed very hard to this arc, and you can tell they put their heart and souls into it. Stand proud, Bones, you made fire animation. The voice actors did a wonderful job, especially considering the material they had to work with. So good on them, they knocked it out of the park. And that's the good stuff. It does show that, even at its worst, My Hero Academia still has quality moments that leave you in awe. But sadly, not enough to save the arc. But before we wrap it up, I need to make some counters here. While I know the vast majority of people who will disagree with me are going to be civil, polite, and respectful, I know I'm going to get some interesting comments that will try to deflect from everything I just said. So let's have fun. Now, you guys might not know this, but I have the power to see your comments before you post them. And I already know that while I'll get plenty of good faith comments that might give valid pushback to my arguments, I know as well that I will get plenty of comments that will be bad faith, laughably bad, or both combined. So let's nip these points in the bud, shall we?
Horikoshi put a lot of work into My Hero Academia. How could you hate something made with passion?
Now, first of all, I'm not here to say Horikoshi doesn't care about his work. Just looking at a page of any chapter of MHA shows the immense effort with the art and what he tried to do with the story. So you know, I don't hate this arc like you guys think I do. The problem is that just because something was made with passion and love doesn't make it good. The Room, The Phantom Menace, and Toy Story 4 have a lot of passion behind them, but they are still objectively poorly written movies. Some more than others, but you get what I mean. The sad truth is, your hard work doesn't always equal good work. I can appreciate what Horikoshi tried to do, and all things considered, it's not the worst thing ever. But bad work is bad work. Though I do hope he enjoys his vacation and not working himself to death. Bro deserves that much after a decade on the job.
It's a Shonen Jump manga. It's aimed at teenagers. You're being too harsh.
You know what else was aimed towards teens? These?
That is where you've always been wrong about me, Lex. I'm as human as anyone. I love...
It's ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20!
All these examples are much better written than this arc. Just because a story is aimed at teens doesn't mean it has to be poorly written. In fact, I would argue you should try even harder when it comes to stories aimed at teenagers and younger. You might be inspiring the next generation of creatives. You should try to be an example of how things are done well.
The rest of the series has just as many plot holes as this arc.
No, the series did not used to be like this. It was actually consistently well written and put together. And even if this was true that the series is always poorly written, it doesn't mean that this arc is now forgiven for its faults. Besides, if you say this, you're admitting that this story is poorly written from start to finish. You're doing a better job of shit-talking the series than I am. Think about that if you want.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
You're just hating this story because it's not what you want?
Could you point to something in my review that says anything that resembles, I think the story's bad because it's not what I wanted it to be? If I said something like, this arc is bad because there's not enough Ryukyuk, then you might have a point, but everything is there has me examining the story's intention and pointing out how it failed at what it was trying to do. Not to say I can't be wrong, but to attribute criticism you don't like to personal preference is plain silly.
The critics and audiences love it, so you are wrong.
People take these numbers as a fact about the quality of this arc when it's only just that. Numbers. It just shows a lot of people like it, not if it's actually good or bad. Besides, critics and audiences are not arbiters of truth. They can and have gotten stuff wrong. Critics gave Fight Club bad reviews when it came out, even highly respected ones. On the opposite end, people gave the Snyder Cut positive reviews, despite it not being a particularly great or even good movie. Or to put it in simple terms, shut up and make your own opinion on things and not rely on others to do so.
You are not a true My Hero fan if you criticize it.
That only depends if I'm actually being bad faith with it and trying to make it look way worse than it is. But if you don't mean that, geez, you guys are so sensitive that even criticism in good faith equals an attack on you personally. If you actually think criticism is inherently a bad thing, might I ask you to take a trip outside and touch some grass? Also, bonus points, this is my official ranking of the arcs in My Hero Academia. See, barely anything that I would consider to be bad, so don't even think about calling me a hater of MHA.
Well, I still like it.
Good for you, I'm glad you enjoy this arc. The problem is that your personal preference is not a good counter with regards to any points made with facts and actual arguments. Now, if you want to say you have different standards than me, you can do that. But to say that your personal preference is a viable counterpoint to my arguments is not only ridiculous, but borderline childish, because guess what? You can't just say, I think it looks cool when I bring up flaws in the story.
You don't get what Horikoshi was trying to do with the themes and intentions.
No, I understand quite well. I have had a lot of wonderful convos with my friends talk about the themes and intentions of My Hero Academia, and they often change my mind on aspects of the series, especially this arc. Plenty of the themes still work, even after this arc. The problem is that the intentions and themes of this arc are undercut by the things I brought up. You can't just praise a piece of work because it was trying to do something. If that's how making art works, then The Room is a good movie now, because it has themes and intentions with writing a tragedy where a man who has it all is betrayed and his downfall is caused by the people who he thought was his friends. If a point can be used to defend The Room as a good movie unironically, perhaps it's time to throw it out.
It's a dumb superhero story. It's not meant to be deep.
Okay, so this point is actually the one that makes me a bit annoyed and pissed off. Most of the points beforehand are at least trying to defend the series out of respect and love, but this point is just straight up disrespectful to the series. In saying that My Hero Academia is nothing more than a dumb series that shouldn't be taken seriously, you are no different than the people who slander it. Deadass, some of the commenters on my original work video said that arc and series in general are meant to be poorly written because it's shonen.
What?
I'm not saying you have to think big brain about any story. You can enjoy a series casually without thinking much about the plot itself. You know, unlike me, a lot of people have lives and better things to do. Everyone has a unique way of taking in art, and to say that one outlook is wrong because it's different is just straight up idiotic. What I'm saying is that the people who thought it's a shonen manga, it's meant to be bad, was a good pushback, and saying I'm wrong for how I view art are actually pretty freaking sad. Like, are you guys really fans when you say crap like this? Say what you will about me, but at least I acknowledge the story's intentions and heart. I don't try to make the series look like a shallow piece of work because I don't like parts of it. Even make fun of it, it's out of a place of love and wanting the series to be better, while you guys want to both heap praise on it, but dismiss it as bad work because of its genre. This is the biggest example of a textbook paradox. So to the bastions of intellect that unironically use these points, beat it!
Get him out! Get in your... Bring him to the airport! Get him
My
the
mom-
fuck out! Get him out!
In conclusion, the final arc is bad. It has plenty of the same problems as the first war. Some moments of greatness, but surrounded by bad writing. I'll be real, I liked it upon rereading it, and I can see why a lot of people love this arc. but there's so much dumb writing that I can't give it a positive review. The writing is rushed at times where it's clear that some material should have been cut out or reworked to be more fleshed out. Looking at you, Mina and Shoji plotlines, portions of the cast are either character assassinated or severely damaged because of their choices in this arc. Like All Might being an idiot, Midoriya being self-centered, and Shigiraki's whole backstory being ruined. And while there's good material like Shoto and Dabi's subplot, it's weakened because the story stretches it out way longer than it should have been. Now this arc isn't as bad as I remembered. It was a good thing I took my time with this arc and not rushed into hating it. But no matter how much I like it, the arc is bad, I'm sorry to say. So the final score for the final arc is...
Okay, Ringo! Spotlight's not big enough for the both of us.
4 out of 10. But after all that hardship, after going through another major letdown, what are my closing thoughts on the series? Do I hate with all my soul? Do I tell people not to watch it because it will just be a major letdown? No. Despite my own annoyances on how this series turned out, I don't hate My Hero Academia. It's a series that changed my life in many ways. It helped me get this channel running, it helped me make some new friends, and it pushed me when it came to my creative endeavors. It was really my first time falling in love with this series, while growing disillusioned with it later on. But no matter what I say about it, I will never lie on what this series meant to me and the impact it still has on me. It made me want to create, it made me feel alive, it made me want to do things when it came to my projects, my goals, my dreams, and it would be wrong of me to try to undermine that impact. And honestly, seeing people talk about how My Hero impacted them, it's astounding. It's beautiful in a way. Despite it being a mess, it's still a piece of generational work. It changed the lives of millions. And no matter what I can say, no matter how much I can insult the dumb characters, and no matter how much I can point out the nonsense, the thing I can never take away from My Hero Academia is that it mattered to me and so many other people. And you know what? At the end of the day, with its mission to be impactful and help people, I think it succeeded, and that matters for something. So thank you, Horikoshi. Thank you for creating My Hero Academia and leaving such a massive impact on the world. And thank you for having a massive impact on my life. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hello everyone who stuck to the end. Just want to give my thanks to everyone who watched and give a general update to the channel. Firstly, yeah, this video took way longer than it should have. Sorry guys, school was a bit of a pain and I had to refocus my efforts from YouTube. Needless to say, I'm glad to be back and I hope you guys love this video. It was fun finally reviewing this arc and wrapping up my thoughts on the series that had a massive impact on my life, but I wouldn't be here without the help of others. So let's give those people a proper thank you. First up, I want to thank Muddy. He gave me good feedback on some of the points in his video and helped me to revise them to better explain myself. He helped out when it came to Bakugo's character and his deal with All For One. Plus he helped out on the Todoroki family material and the Shoji subplot. Link to his blue sky will be in the description. I want to thank TwiceJaeger as well. He helped me get through this arc and provide some good points that were brought up in this video, particularly the points about All Might's character and the suit. Give him a follow on Twitter if you're still there. I want to thank Daze, the thumbnail artist for all my reviews. He cooks up the best stuff and I wouldn't have gone this far without him. Links to his blue sky and Twitter below. I want to thank all the voice actors who lended their hand here. They really helped to push the project over the finish line and make it even better than I could have done it on my own. Let's go over each of them. Thank you to Kawiria for lending your voice for Mina in the skit featuring her. She was very wonderful and a real pro. If you want her services, link to her social media below. And go support her channel. She makes fun skits and reviews and I think you all will enjoy it. She's less than 300 subs away from 7,000 and I would really like to help her out. So give her a sub to help her get to that goal. Next, I want to thank Sean for helping me out in the Midoriya and Shigiraki segment. He did a wonderful job in his segment perfectly well. He also helped out in the Shoji section with the skit, where he did a wonderful job. Go support his channel, where he does his own reviews and help him get to 1,000 subs. Links to his channel and social media will be below. Lastly, but not least, thank you to Madvocate for providing his straw nerd voice for his video. He did a phenomenal job and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. His straw nerd voice remains uncontestedly the best. Please, I ask everyone who watched this video to go watch his channel. His videos are some of the best reviews on the platform. For example, his Flash reviews are phenomenally good, breaking down why that show was never good. So give him a watch to show your support. I want to thank my loyal viewers as well. I appreciate you guys standing by me, even though this video should have been out way earlier. I promise new videos won't take this long again. Just these past few years of school threw me for a loop, but now I'm free to do whatever I want. But now the question is, what is next? I'll still be here, but I will change up my video strategy. When I was in college, I had a lot of time to think, especially being taken away from something I love. I won't go into detail, but my time at college made me refocus and consider what I want to do with this channel in my life. I was considering retiring this channel after I was done this video, but I have changed my mind since then because I love this channel and I still have things to say. Plus, it's still the best chance I got to pursue my other passions, so you're still stuck with me for a while, but I made a mistake of putting too much effort into being popular, rather than trying to make and perfect my own style, person, and perfect my style. That lesson I have implemented here as I add skits into this review because I want to be a voice actor, and I think I'm finally getting the hang of it. So expect future videos to have skits to express my acting and writing side. Lastly, if you want to support me in my endeavors, my Patreon will be listed below. You'll gain early access to my videos there. Or alternatively, you become a channel member and gain the same rewards and emotes. You gain all that while helping me out. With that all said, it's time for me to call it. I'll see you all around soon. Take care and have a good day.